Hi, I'm Cynthia Arent, and welcome to this week's library assignment. We had to pick a graphic novel, and the one I chose was The Adventures of Basil and Moebius. This was not a true graphic novel because it actually was a compilation of three stories. So we have Curse of Spring Hill Jack, Bloodstone, and The Devil's Handshake. These were written by Larry Hama and Ryan Shiffin and was published by Magnetic Press. And the book is a total of 163 pages for all three stories. The Curse of Springhead Jack, Act 1 began on page 5 and it ended on page 15. Act 2 began on page 16 and ended on page 3. And Act 3 began on page 26 and ends on page 35. For Bloodstone, Act 1 begins on page 38 and ends on page 43. Act 2 begins on page 44 and ends on page 63. Act 3 begins on page 64 and ends on page 119. The Devil's Handshake, Act 1 begins on page 120 and ends on page 131. Act 2 begins on page 132 and ends on page 143. And Act 3 page 144 and it ends on page 161. Okay, so this is the story of Basil and Moebius. They happen into each other, and now they are together going on adventures where they are treasure hunters. Let's see. The story, I'm not going to say in one story, there's no really any internalized character arc that I saw, but not really, but the arc is more external where the two characters don't get along at first, and so as the stories are going along, they are becoming more comfortable with each other and learning to work better with one another. Okay, so let's see. They did do effective transitions. I'm going to show you an example here. So when we look at this page here, we see he's wanting to shoot back there at those men. This man grabs him, and he's turned now. He's kicked him off. He's turned, and he's turned. But we don't need to be told in this space. This is our empty space. We don't have to be told, oh, that he's turned around, because our mind just is automatically going to see and grasp, oh, he's turned around. Now he's facing those men again, and he's shooting. He's shooting at him, Spring Hill Jack. So I think it did well in all of those, actually. Let's see. It did well with the page by page comic, because you would start with a little bit of the story here, and by the time it got down to the final panel, that little tiny bit did end and brought you over to the next side. The directional flow was very well. It was very good. As you can see here, he did well using like her body, her arms pointing down to show you where to go. We have the fire showing you, and then down here we have the green pointing, going this direction, telling us, yeah, hey, go that way, turn the page. So, and each final panel was a page turner. It had the direction, and it did cause you to want to go to the next page to see and find out what would happen next. I would recommend this to my classmates and friends. For Christian friends, I would give them a warning, because there was some language and some inappropriate humor that some might find offensive. And my fun fact is that Moebius was the youngest person ever admitted to Oxford. Thank you.